Hello class, and welcome to your lecture on relative versus parallel keys. And so we use these two terms, relative and parallel, to describe keys or key signatures. If they are relative, two keys share the same key signature. Or in other words, they share the same group of notes that make up that key. So they share the same key signature, whereas in a parallel key, they share the same starting note. So for parallel, what we're thinking of is that the do doesn't change. So if we were in C major, its relative minor, its parallel minor would be C minor. So you'll notice that they share the same starting pitch or the same home note for that key, the same do or tonic. In relative, they share the same key signature, and if you're going from major to minor, so let's say we want to find the relative major or the relative minor to C major, then it would be built off of law in that key. So the minor mode or the relative key signature is actually just 3 pitches prior to C. So we have C as 1, we count back to B, 2, 3 to A. So A minor is our relative key. Now, if I was starting on a minor key and going to a major key, the way I would do that is go up to the 3rd scale degree. So, for example, if I was in G minor, if I was in G minor, I would go up 3 pitches, and I would get to the relative or the root of the relative major, which is B flat major. Let me show you this on some manuscript paper and see if we can make a little more sense of it. So if I have here, say, we'll start with a key that's pretty common. How about D major? Okay, so D major, I'm going to look at my scale, and I'll notate it out. There's D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp, D, okay? And I have my scale degrees. Okay, like that. You can think of your solfege as well. Put that back in focus for you. There we go. You can think of your solfege as well. You have do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. And again, if I'm trying to find my relative, or the key that shares the same key signature but that is minor, it's going to be built off of the 6th scale degree or law. And so the relative minor to D major is B minor. So the key signature for B minor is the same. So here we have 2 sharps, and B, we could either write it right here, or we could write it down low. I'm going to write it down low. So we have B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G, A, B. And again, key signatures give you the natural mode, right? The natural minor mode, okay, of minor. Now, if we start with say a key that's a minor key and we want to find the relative major, let's start with one, say, how about F minor, okay? So I'm going to build this one using tetrachords, and I'm going to do the natural minor because that gives me the key signature. So I have F, G, A flat. I'm going to put my little, I know I have at least A flat, which means I've got 3 flats to get to A flat, B flat, E flat, A flat, then B flat, And then my top one should be a Phrygian tetrachord here. So I'm going to go C, D flat. So I need one more flat there. E flat and F. Okay, so this is F minor. Now if I wanted to find its relative major, I'm going to find the third scale degree, which is May in that key. And that will be my relative major coming from minor. And again, these should share the same key signature. So some of you already may have thought ahead and said, oh, I know what key signature this is in major, so it's going to be A flat. But the other way you can think of it is going from Do to May, or the third scale degree, when you're going minor to major for relative. So if you have a minor scale given and you're finding the relative major, you can either just look at the key signature, but if there's no key signature, you can go up to the third scale degree, and that note is your relative major. So in this case, we have A flat major as our relative key. And it should have that same key signature, and it does. So that's how we get to relative keys. If we want to do parallels, then you're going to see keys like, I don't know, we can do E major, and we'll find its parallel key. Okay, so here's E major, and I'm going to actually not use the key signature, I'm going to just use the scale, but you could do it either way, it doesn't matter. And E major we know has 4 sharps. We have F sharp, C sharp, G sharp, and D sharp. And I want to find what is the parallel key signature, or the parallel key to E major. So in that case, I'm going to have the same tonic or starting pitch, and it's going to be E minor is the parallel. E minor is the parallel. So in that case, let's build our E minor and see what happens, okay? We still have an F sharp, but we have a G natural, then we have A, B, and we have C natural and D natural for E natural minor. And so you should notice that in parallel keys, the third scale degree, 6th and 7th scale degrees get lowered. And you might remember that from our singing of natural minor scales, that Mi becomes May, La becomes Lay, and Ti becomes Te. And that's what we see here. You have Mi here, this is May. You have La here, this is Lay. And you have Ti here, and this is Te. And so you can see those 3 get lowered by 1 semitone. Now, as far as the key signature goes, we have 4 sharps in our major key, and in our parallel we just have 1. Or in other words, you've taken away 3 sharps. Or if it's a flat key, you would add 3 flats, because again, you are lowering 3 pitches, so those need to be lowered. All right, if you have any questions on this, go ahead and reach out to me or the TAs, and hopefully you understand now the difference between parallel versus relative.